Are you really?
Just for the hell of it.
I'm gonna refresh. It.
Well, it's not the live stream's fault.
I didn't think it was.
It's not YouTube. But yeah, I'm fucking live streaming.
Well, you probably got me for a little while because I think Sabrina's pissed.
Oh man.
Yeah. I went and got my sat down and I moved my.
You need to get closer to your mic or something, or fix your Discord or whatever, because it just keeps cutting you out real bad.
Is this better?
Well, I mean, you don't have to fucking molest it. I'm just saying. It just keeps cutting you out.
Closer, all right.
It just keeps cutting you out for some reason, and I don't know why.
I would like to be able to actually hear this debate and not read lips. Can we turn on the subtitles and see if it helps? Oh,
there's actually subtitles.
Yeah, you can turn subtitles on, but
yeah, but the thing is, it's not gonna work because there's no audio coming from the fucking stream, Brett.
God, shut the hell up, Hunter. All right, I didn't think about that.
Oh man, that's funny. What's it gonna do? Lip read the?
Hey, you never know. Computers are amazing.
That's funny. Oh man,
I would love to be able to hear, but I don't think it's gonna happen. It's Donald Trump Jr. What if he ran for president next year?
Well, that'd be fucking sick.
He runs for president in 4 years. Him and his dad.
Yeah,
him and his dad.
His dad's the vice president.
His dad's the VP, and they do it again in another 4 years. And then after those 4 years, Pence does it.
Oh, there we go. Now we have audio after they stop fucking speaking. Okay. Yeah.
I know. That's what I was saying, Hunter.
Yeah, they're fucking with it, buddy. They're hacking.
This is what happens. This is what happens. Pence runs after these 4 years with Trump. All right, they win that. Another 4 years, win that. Donald Trump Jr. then runs. We get.
Bro, I just had to lighten the mood, or light up the area here. I just lit my tobacco scented candle.
Tobacco scented candle? That sounds terrible.
Dude, it smells amazing.
It's
like pipe tobacco. It's fucking awesome. Like a warm tobacco smell, and it's really nice. What?
Can you hear anything? Because I cannot.
No, I can't hear shit.
Are they even talking?
No idea.
I feel like they're introducing right now. Oh my god, she literally just starting. All right.
Yeah, there's literally nothing going on. Fox
I'll probably be watching that.
Fox completely fucked this. Tell her to just fucking watch this. This is more interesting than a fucking movie. This is a big deal.
I feel like Biden's whole speech is going to be pre-recorded. Be reading it.
He's just fucking attempting to lip sync and completely fucks it up.
Somebody's reading it to him through his ear, and he's just repeating it. Guaranteed.
That would fuck him up even more. I feel because he can barely read a fucking prompter, let alone. Yeah.
Can you repeat that again, please?
He just fucking steps away from the mic and just whispers, "Can you repeat that, please?"
And they all look at him and go, "Who are you talking to?"
Are they just like waiting on them now, or like what is going on?
Hey, the last time I saw Biden get on stage, he was like an extra minute and a half late.
Well, this is 2 minutes late now.
And then he starts playing Despacito on his phone.
Yeah, that was fucking stupid.
What'd you say, babe? Oh, okay.
Let's see how many viewers they have now. 477,000.
Hey,
no
NBC
way.
had more. NBC had almost 600,000.
Did they really?
Oh wait, we have almost 600,000.
What do you mean we have almost 600,000?
We have 578,000.
Oh, it just now updated. For me, we have 597,000. And NBC?
We're over 600,000 now.
NBC News for me with This is their official channel, has only 68,000 viewers.
Nah, mine said they had over 600,000.
This one has 300,000. How many?
Actually tell voters what he wants to do for a second term. It's something he hasn't done.
He's got
Joe
Biden.
Dude, they have
ABC. My bad. ABC has 910,000.
We have 609.
It was ABC. I didn't. Not.
Fucking big brain.
They have almost.
Are they just not speaking, or like what is going on?
They're talking. We're just not being able to hear it. You know what it is? It happens to be. Oh.
Good evening from the Health Education Campus of Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic. I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates
Kamala in the
between
background
President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the 2 candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all 4 debates.
I've never not cared more in my fucking life.
Both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate.
Watched these debates.
The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you, can focus on what the candidates have to say.
You mean the candidate and the fucking idiot?
As we
is that what you mean?
Republican nominee, President Trump,
it's the
and the
candidate
Democratic
and
nominee,
the wannabe candidate.
Vice President Biden.
That's not gonna make it.
I feel like it's the candidate and then the kid with Down syndrome that they just couldn't reject. Look at him.
He goes, yeah.
How you doing, man? How are you? I'm well.
Trump's like, why am I even here with this guy?
He just has to look at us and say, you're
A
fired.
lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our
You're wrong.
Executive orders where he can't run for president.
You're wrong.
President Trump
You're
nominated
wrong.
Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your
executive orders that
obligation
Biden can't run
to consider a
you're
nominee to the court. Vice President
fired.
Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight, why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think
So wait, this dude is from Fox
Justice
News that is
Barrett
asking them the
would take
questions?
the court?
Oh.
Yes.
President Trump, in this first segment, you
So
go first.
what is all the other news channels doing?
The presidents get to
very simply, we
choose.
won the election. Elections have
moderator is
consequences.
debate.
We have the Senate.
Oh, so
we have
NBC is
the
just
White
stealing
House,
Fox.
and
Okay.
we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every
looks
way.
skinnier.
Good in every way. In fact,
Did you lose
some
weight,
of her
Trump?
biggest
Hey.
He looks
endorsers
good,
are
Can I have a
honestly.
small loan of $1 million, man? You look
Notre
great.
Dame and other places.
Just throw
So
that
I
in
think
there.
she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they're trying to do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen
they were
in
fucking
reverse also.
stopped.
Definitely would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have
And
the
they
right
tried to say
do
that
it,
he
Chris.
couldn't do that. That was funny.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait.
Why would they?
We should
No,
wait and see
that's
what the
not how it
outcome of
works.
this election
The
is.
person, the
Because
seat
that's the
needs to be
only
filled
way the American
during
people
the
get to
current
express
president.
their view.
You don't
is
wait
by who they elect
until
as
that
president,
president's
who they elect as vice
over
president.
and go to the next
Now,
person when it happens
what's at
in
stake
that
here
in
is
that,
the president's
in that
made it clear
presidential
he wants to get rid of the Affordable
4
Care
year
Act.
span.
He's
That's
been
not how
running
that
on
works.
that. He ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Oh, you already
which,
fucked
will
up. You already
strip
can't speak.
20 million
You already
people
fucked it. You fucked it,
from
bud.
having insurance.
We're
health insurance
not even
now,
2 minutes
if
into it.
If it goes into court, and
Not even
and,
2 minutes
the
in,
justice,
and he's
and
already
I have
stuttering.
Nothing. I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person, but she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on
You
the
wanna
court,
bring it
and if it's
constitutional?
struck down, what happens?
What are you doing?
Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be held more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. They were able to
How is
charge
this
a woman
related
more
to
for
what the
the
question
same
was?
exact procedure a man did.
I don't understand.
Gets. And that ended.
He's already
This
lost
is
me.
not-
in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions.
We're talking about
and
the
they'll be taken away as
Affordable
well.
Care Act whenever
Those pre-existing conditions.
where the discussion
insurance
was over
companies
the
are gonna love
seat
this. And so
in the
it's
Senate
just not
after
appropriate
Ruth
to do this
Ginsburg or whatever her name
before
was
this
died.
election. If he
And
wins
we're talking
the
about
election
this for some
and
reason.
the Senate is
I am
Democrat
just-
or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years.
Yes.
So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the
election's
100
already
million
started.
people, Joe, the
Joe.
100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care, that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly going to
But-
socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to
This-
socialist
this is,
medicine.
we're now into,
No.
gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won.
Why-
Were saying that Biden wanted to.
Why does
allow
his
people
Why does
to
his
have
eyes
private
creep me
insurance
out
still.
so much?
They can. They do.
This is
They
a
will
pedo.
under my proposal.
No,
what you
he
said.
just
That
has
is not what
this
you
weird
said.
look
That
in
is
his
simply
eye.
Your party
lie.
doesn't say it. Your party
is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in
problem
fact,
was not
approved
being
of.
able to find
What
my
I
problem
approved of.
was that
Now,
the
here's the deal.
contrast on
The
the
deal is that
jobs-
it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the
Bro,
way,
has anybody else noticed that this idiot has not looked at Donald Trump while he's speaking?
They're
afraid.
He's reading fucking a prompter 100%.
7 million people that
He's
contract
reading
COVID.
off of something
What does
because
it
he
mean for
hasn't
them
moved his
going
eyes at
forward
all.
if we strike down the
Because
Affordable
Trump is
Care
looking at
Joe,
him,
you've had
speaking to him.
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper
watching
health
the
care in the
debate right
military.
now.
So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million
Can we watch
people
something after the
because you were
debate?
very late
It's
on the
not that
draw.
long.
You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which was heavily
Mr.
infected.
President,
You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
Much later.
Mr.
You're
President,
talking about 2 million people.
You're
Mr.
not gonna be able to
President, as
shut
the
him up.
moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is
It's
opposed
not,
to
till I
Roe v.
check.
Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the
Thank you.
court. In the court, and so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already
You don't know it's on the
begun.
ballot.
I-
Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why
because
was that?
you
It's on the
said
ballot. It's not on the ballot.
it's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
And you
just be
don't
quiet
know
for a minute?
her view on Roe v. Wade. You
I
don't
don't
know her
know.
view.
Well, all right. Let's talk. We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time. So, on health care, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you an
rid of the
and when I
individual
finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That is
big
not a
chunk of
comprehensive
Obamacare. That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst
I
part of
didn't ask,
Obamacare.
Sir.
Chris,
You're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part
me.
of Obamacare.
Let me ask my
Well,
question.
I'll ask Joe.
The
Individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like
and
you
we
to,
will
Mr.
protect people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer your
ahead.
question. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something. There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against Big Pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care.
about
All of the
pre-existing
things that
conditions?
we've done,
He has not cut
insulin. I
health
give
care.
you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people. The cost. I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you about,
big.
you'll
This
be
is
happy,
big stuff.
sir. You'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare, and
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
will. If I can
sorry.
ask you the question, it will
Not
end.
what your party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people.
Bro,
who are
don't
poor
make your
Medicaid.
eyes so wide. You look
Anyone
like a
who
lizard.
qualifies for
Oh.
Medicare would-
Why does he
Medicaid
talk
would
like that?
automatically be
He
enrolled
goes,
in
he
the
closes his
public
eyes for like
option.
2
The
seconds.
vast
He goes,
majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie Sanders, who's
I
far
did-
left, on the manifesto, we call it. And that gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you saying
I'm
you
not going
didn't
to listen
agree?
to him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
How much?
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left
Well,
2
I'll
days
tell
early.
you,
You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to
on
do
Super
is hurt.
Tuesday. You got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to
With
make
what?
sure because
With what?
here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agreed.
want to
Hey,
make
Joe,
sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be
you know,
surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy,
Talk,
the wrong
talk,
night
Joe.
at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
let
Now you're
him-
disavowing it.
There is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the
what,
left.
What Trump is trying to do
You
right here
agreed with Bernie
is he's
Sanders
trying
on a
to
plan.
get
Folks,
Biden
absolutely
mad.
Folks, do you have an
And,
idea what this is?
He's doing so well.
You have-
He's trying to get him
Socialized
to
medicine.
spitting out
I'll
random
tell you
things and
what,
start saying
he is
stupid
not
things.
For
That's what he's
any
trying to get him to
help
do.
For people
He's
in
doing
healthcare.
so well. He's doing so well.
Because he, in fact, already has cost 10
Oh,
million
man.
people their health
I'm waiting for one of those
that they
like
had from
super awesome
employers
Biden
because of
lines
his
where the
recession.
whole I'm Joe
Number one.
Biden's
Number
husband
two,
or
there are
like
20 million
the
people
poor kids are
getting
just
health
bright
care
and just
through
as smart as
Obamacare
white
now,
kids. I'm
and
waiting
he
for one
wants
of
to
those
take
lines
it
to come
away.
popping out.
It'll
He won't
happen.
ever
He'll say,
look you in the eye and say,
"You're not
"That's what he
black
wants
if
to
you don't
do.
vote for
Take it
Biden."
away.
No, I want to give them
Number
better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But-
because
and by the way, he
Obamacare
doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
as you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you realize
is no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at the
It's no
same
good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is, and that destroyed. They shouldn't
This
even
is
call
the way
it
it
Obamacare.
is.
Then I had a choice to make. Do I let
is
my
the
people
way.
run it really well? Or badly. If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people. Okay? I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
and I
known
just
for.
had a meeting with them. They said the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive.
I got you.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what his people
we
said.
do want to
No,
get
no.
rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir,
something
but I
Why
have,
does
to,
he
I have to
keep-
give you roughly equal time.
Good.
Because he has to try and give them
Let
equal.
the vice president talk.
Good.
He's so
has
bad at
no
this.
plan
I
for
don't
health
like
care.
keep
this.
saying that he has no plan, but you're not giving your
sends
plan.
out Wishful thinking. He has executive
I don't
orders that
like
have no
the guy
power. He hasn't
moderating.
lowered drug costs.
I don't
for
like
anybody.
him. He's
been
kind of
promising
annoying.
a healthcare plan
Just
since he
look
got
at him,
elected.
dude.
He has none. Like
There's
almost
something not right
everything
about the
else he
dude. You
talks
just
about.
look at him.
He does not have a plan.
Hillary Clinton is
He
up his
doesn't have
ass
a
right
plan.
now.
And the fact is,
You
this
say
man
that he
doesn't
doesn't
know
have
what
a
he's
plan, but
talking
then he
about.
never tells
I
the
have one,
people
I have
what
one
his
final
plan
question
is.
for you.
Sure.
You know?
Because he doesn't
Mr.
have a
Vice
fucking
President.
plan. Trump does.
If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how
you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people
doesn't wanna
know
answer
the
you're
question.
a senator.
Question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
you want to put a lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
your,
man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right.
Gentlemen,
This is-
I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's gonna pack the
unprecedented.
court.
That
We
is
have
so-
ended.
not gonna give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really
Not
a
at all.
productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
Oh,
47
Joe's mad.
Years, you've done nothing.
Joe's mad.
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So
Great.
let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. Who are you talking to?
200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who
What's
you
that
are.
supposed to mean?
That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the
That's
way
why he
back in
closed
February how serious
that's why he
this
closed
crisis
the borders
was.
and
He
wouldn't let
knew
people
it was
in
a
from
deadly
China.
disease.
He was called a
What did he do?
racist for that.
He's on
and
tape. Is
the
acknowledging
Democrats
he knew
went
it.
and said they should
He
have
said
a
he
block
didn't tell
party in
us or give people a
Chinatown
warning of it because he didn't
because
want
they
to
weren't taking
panic
any of it
American
serious.
people.
After
You don't
he
panic.
closed the border,
He panicked.
calling
In
him
addition
racist.
to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then?
What is he looking at?
then
Who is he
did
talking
nothing.
to?
He
don't
waited and waited
know.
and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out
Sir,
back
it's
in
his 2
March
minutes.
exactly
it's so
what we
wrong.
should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their
He's
businesses
tried.
open schools. It costs
The
a lot of
Democrats
money.
have stopped every
You
bill
should get out of your
since the
bunker
first,
and get out of the sand
stimulus
trap
check
and get in
that
your
he
golf
has
course and
made
go in the
because they
Oval
try to get
Office
their
and bring
own
together the
narratives through the
Democrats and
bill.
Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to
You have 2 minutes, sir.
if we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it, and
See?
you said he's xenophobic.
I
He's a
said it.
racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I
unrelated
should have
to
closed
your
our country.
COVID.
No,
Wait a
sir,
minute.
It's his 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the
calm.
job
Well, you didn't do
done.
very well in swine flu. H1N1. You were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
There was far
no,
less
there was no
lethal
recession.
disease,
you made
by
a
the way.
point. Let him answer it.
And there was no one, we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people. Far
That is-
more people.
And,
You would
Why
have
are
been
you
by the
bringing
way,
that up?
your
That's
own,
fucked up.
Behind me,
his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up, he said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
& Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those are your
Can
two
you
words.
turn her down?
But Dr.
Jesus
Slawi,
Christ.
the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call them left, I don't know what I call them.
So you're suggesting that the head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slawi?
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He said it's a possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also be
talking
after
about when it's
that.
generally available.
Well, we're going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up. Logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This
delivering.
is the same man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically, and you know that. That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
You'll have the vaccine sooner
I want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying you can't, or Senator Harris is saying you can't trust the scientists.
No, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She said the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not, they're the people, and by the way.
I spoke to the scientists that are in charge.
By the way.
They will have the vaccine very soon.
Let him finish.
Do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you?
See how he's talking
about
directly into the
whole
camera?
Issue relating to COVID.
He's reading off a
He
prompter.
still hasn't even acknowledged.
He hasn't looked away
that
from the
he
fucking
knew
camera.
This was happening, knew how dangerous
Or
it was
he's
going to
just
be
trying to make it
back
feel,
in
make
February,
people feel like he's
and he
talking.
didn't even tell you.
What are you talking
He's
about?
on
Fucking
record.
ass?
saying
Jesus
it.
Christ.
He panicked, or he just looked at the stock market. One of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh,
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see
would have
who's
had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
see,
and
he's
it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast. I look
Okay.
forward to talking
When
about
it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to provide
that
them
to Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi. And Schumer,
by the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet him in the Senate,
Let-
and he sits on his golf course, and I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play
think
more than
about
I
it.
do, Joe.
What about this question of reopenings and the fact?
Well, he wants to shut down this country, and I want to keep it open. And we
You
did
ju-
a great
he
thing
just
by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute, Joe. Let me shut you down for a second, Joe, just for
Let
one
me
second.
shut you down.
We want to.
Jesus.
He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November 3rd.
I want to move on to another
because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to
thing.
another
I
subject.
gotta
But
respond.
those,
I
but
wanna
those
move,
states,
gentlemen, I
those
wanna move
states
on to
are
another
not
subject.
doing well that are shut down
Which is
right
gotta
now.
now.
respond to that.
President
Wants to shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
of
You have
masks?
to understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to. But I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say this.
Vice President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money. The Congress.
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His
didn't
own
even know what
head
the
of the
question
CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also
It
said the
matters.
opposite.
100,000 lives.
No serious person said the opposite. No
Well, look
serious
at
all right, I
Dr.
wanna ask-
What's his
Fauci.
name?
Dr.
Oh, what's his
Fauci
name?
said the
He
opposite.
did
I
not
want
say
to
the
ask you, we
opposite.
got a
Said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good.
I
I'm
wanna
okay
ask-
with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both
masks.
about one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside, yes, sir, agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events.
Because nobody
nobody
wants to
to show.
watch.
People with
Well, it's
Wait.
true. Nobody
said
shows up
it.
to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You goes first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
for
not worried
hangars,
about
and we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours' notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see
That's it.
one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no
or
negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've
Come
had
on.
no negative effect. And we've had 35,000, 40,000
All right.
people
you want
at
to
these rallies.
just
Yes.
quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraged them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on
Nobody
to the
cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape.
K-shape mean?
What difference does that mean to the American
I've never
people in
seen
terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in
if you
history.
turn the K
We
on the
closed
side,
it
it's the
down
same-
because
it
of
goes
the
the same
China
direction.
plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people, between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening at some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well.
Trump's less valuable right now than he was when he first got in office.
$300 billion because
Like
of his
by a lot,
Catholic
like
tax
over $1 billion less.
proposal, and he only focused
And he
on
gave
the
away his
market.
salary he made as
But
a
you
president.
folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in
wrong.
taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, it's
It's
his
the wrong
Yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs.
Definitely
than
not.
when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase.
You just say
in
that
COVID
Trump
deaths
is going to
and
have
COVID
people with
cases in
like
the United States of
people are
America.
going to be
And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he
like
take
people-
care of the American?
more
You
people
can't
will not
fix
have
the
jobs when he
economy
leaves the
until
presidency.
you fix the COVID crisis, and he has no
But you can't
intention
close
of
the
doing
economy
anything
forever,
about
you'll
making
never
it
be
better
able to bring
for
it
you
back.
all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools. Why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing.
what
One
did
in six
Biden
is
say
now
about-
gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs
What
of the
did
American
Biden say
people so
about
we can open safely.
All right.
him
Your
having
time is up,
less
sir.
jobs
We're gonna
when
get
he-
to the-
I
we're
have
gonna-
to respond to that.
whenever
Say
he's
they
done
both
with
have
his
2 minutes, sir.
presidency.
There's
Excuse me, he
less
made a
jobs
statement.
now.
So did
whenever
you.
People want their
his
schools.
presidency
No,
is over.
people want
No
their
shit,
schools
because
open.
people
They
can't
don't wanna
work
be shut
because the
down.
shit's
They don't want their
closed.
state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost
don't
like a
know.
ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their
What
places
movie?
open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back
It
Big
depends
Ten
on what it
football.
is.
It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
All right,
people of
let's-
Ohio are very proud of me. And you know
We're
how
going
I
to get
found
back.
out? When he took
Gentlemen,
the phony
we're going to
ad.
get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million 1 year. I paid $27 million
Show us your tax
1 year.
returns.
I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good. And we have a very, I built
Sir,
a great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific question, which
But
is...
let me tell you...
I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand
return.
all of that.
But let me...
No, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750?
Millions of dollars. And you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see
when?
it. But let me just
Inshallah?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes, on the money a school teacher makes, is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help.
Quit looking
People
at me
out
like
there
that.
Need help.
It's
why didn't you
disgusting.
do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't
Why didn't you do it over
because
the
you
last
weren't
25
president
years?
screwing
No,
things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were a
president
vice-
America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of, including fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward, because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth, because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make, the federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500, who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it before when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
Right.
your tax proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Fuck is going
boomed
on?
like it's never boomed.
The economy is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for the American people.
But let me.
Excuse me.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs, that in the first 3 years of your presidency,
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
Mr.
we
Vice
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back.
It was not the
We
worst.
were able to have an economic
2008
recovery that created the
housing
jobs you're talking
recession
about.
was
We
not the
handed
worst.
him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
he
booming.
Blew it. He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery
well, sir, is it
since
fair to,
1929.
is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID came in.
when there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would
This
take a
guy is
miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of my
not agree.
standard fare.
I'm the guy that
He
brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
All right, let him.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies came in from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan, went to Ohio.
They're not having
And they
Mr.
didn't
Vice-
come
wait,
in
wait,
with
wait,
you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch, down
All right, gentlemen,
18%. China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars, to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also,
Simply
while
not
we're at it,
true.
why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is
did he do with Burisma
none
to
of that
deserve
is
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
your
is
question,
true.
let him answer.
None of that is true. It's
Oh, really?
been
He didn't
totally
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please.
totally
ask a question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get
No, no.
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
it is not true.
Oh,
Here's-
really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But, Mr.
it's an open discussion, please.
Now,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not a
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
no
my
job?
son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
and
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth.
fucking
His
annoying.
position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And
The media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of
Dude,
fact, even
Mr.
the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
under
ask you
oath,
this,
and-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even the
you.
people under.
He got $3.5 million from
testified-
Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to
honorably.
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a
Some
good
because
job.
some people don't
well,
do a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say-
You get
here's the
wait
deal.
a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey,
this
let me just
person.
tell you,
No. I'm Mr. President. I'm
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply.
Why did he
not true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already.
family,
No, let him go.
my family
already
lost
wrote-
a fortune by
That's
coming
right.
down
Go
and
ahead.
helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's such a.
they're right
that's
here.
a-
Mr.
That's
President.
such a
Every
great.
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
President.
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't
American
collect
people.
$3.5 million
He
for
doesn't.
nothing.
That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about
you
here.
should
All right,
Not
that's the end of the
Shouldn't have
segment.
taken the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President-
but Chris,
no,
can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No,
He
I
stood
get it.
up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is
threatened
no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you don't
That
get rid of
is
the press.
absolutely
You know what? You're
not
stop.
true.
You're on tape doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
tape.
True.
Gentlemen.
Is-
I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice,
he's
but
on
it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the
That's a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting
Well, that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
there's
than,
plenty.
no, less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president's ever said anything like that.
It is whose
Now,
2 minutes, sir.
second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
he
racism?
did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have excuse me, Portland, the sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day, and they put up their hands, and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and, in many cases, radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there is. There's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place, and you say peaceful protest?
President Trump,
No, it's
I'm not asking.
but you say it is.
President Trump, I'd like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order
Please.
in a moment.
Fine.
This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody else. And he would know.
What is radical
totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and, frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
You just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
You
this
don't
than he
know.
does.
Let him finish.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important to people know. They don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but
Lord.
the reason is that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime,
still haven't mentioned.
violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow it.
Are you in favor of law and order? Go
Yes,
ahead,
I'm
say it.
in
You
favor.
asked a question, let him finish.
Law and order. Law and order.
Let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more
he
in
had,
ours.
All right, we're now.
is president of the United States of America.
Mr. President,
every record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very happy because
And
we're now going to talk about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly my question.
Democratic-
There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died, shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It is
cities.
crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've never seen.
He would know
before.
a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised,
Go ahead. Wait a minute.
I was
So much
raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles on racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and/or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police offices. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist.
Did he really
to
just
keep
bring
them
up
from having to
9/11?
use force and be able to talk people
Or is he
down.
just saying
Or
911?
to have community policing
Is he that
like we had
dumb?
before, where the officers get to know the people in the community.
Hello?
That's when crime
Is
went
he really
down.
that fucking
It
dumb?
didn't
He
go
said
up, it
9/11
went
instead of
down.
911.
So we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're
in-
talking about.
What a
Chris.
fucking
That's not what
idiot,
they're
dude.
He's talking about defunding the police.
What are you guys talking
true.
about?
He doesn't have any law.
Go watch
you-
the
look,
He
debate.
has no law enforcement.
That's
I'll
not
send you
true.
a link.
Almost
Oh,
That's
shit.
not, look,
Oh, really?
Wait, you guys are actually
Who
watching
do you
that?
have? Name
Yeah.
one group that supports.
listen.
Name
Folks,
one law enforcement group that came
I
out and
I think,
supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the
There aren't.
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject, which is the issue
I
of
posted the
protests
link.
in many cities that have turned
All
violent.
right.
In
Yes,
Portland,
yes,
Oregon,
yes, yes.
especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests.
Okay.
Many of those turned
We're not
into
peaceful.
riots.
Looking at a fucking
Vice
Melvin.
President,
What's going on?
you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now. Have you ever called
watching
the
Biden's
Democratic mayor of
retarded ass not
Portland
being
or
able
the
to
Democratic
fucking
governor
speak?
of Oregon and said,
Are you serious?
hey, you got to
he's
stop
so
this,
dumb.
bring in the National
stutters
Guard,
every other word.
do whatever it takes, but you stop.
No, he has some
days
speech
and
And
impediment.
no, the
It doesn't
funny
mean
thing
he's
is, if
retarded.
you watch his eyes when
I
he
don't hold public
speaks,
office now.
he widens his
I am
eyes
a
so
former
much,
vice president.
and they
I've
just
made it
gradually do
clear.
it too.
I've
They
made
just
it clear in
slowly
my
go
public
up,
statement
and then he
that
looks like a
violence should
fucking
be
lizard.
prosecuted.
I don't.
It should be prosecuted. Anyone who commits it should
You've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people.
Dude, he looks like a
leader,
fucking-
excuse me, sir.
like an
You
early-
have never called for the
Like
leaders
like
in
the
Portland
first
and
Xbox
in
graphics skin
Oregon
tone.
to call
He
and
just
bring
doesn't
in the
look like a
National
human.
Guard and knock off
He's
100
special.
days of riots.
They
He's-
can, in fact,
dude,
take
he is
care of it if
definitely
we
wearing
just
a
stay out
mask.
of the
He's
way.
definitely
Look,
a
here-
lizard.
Oh, really?
Here-
Oh, really?
Here's the
But
thing.
no,
I
no.
sent
Sir,
in
no,
the
wait, I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshals to
question.
get the killer
No,
of the
then-
young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3
Mr.
days,
President Trump,
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump,
anything. I
please
had to send in
interrupt.
the U.S. Marshals.
President
They
Trump,
took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by
I'm
the way,
tired of this dude
you know, his
just
own
saying
former
President Trump.
spokesperson
Can
said,
you just
you know,
shut up?
Riots and chaos
Like
and
focus
violence
on
help us
something
cause.
else.
That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that.
don't
And so here's the,
All right.
but here's the point.
No
The
fact
point is
checks,
that
bro. He just
That's
straight
what
up
he is
said
keep
that.
trying to rile everything up.
What the fuck?
He doesn't want to calm things down.
Is Donald Trump
Instead
improvising?
of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together.
If you
figure
look
out
at
how to
Biden,
deal
he
with
never
this."
looks at Trump
What's
at
he
all.
do?
He never
He
speaks
just
to
pours
Trump.
gasoline in
He's
the
always
fire.
looking away.
He literally has not looked
Every
at
single
him
solitary
one time.
time.
Okay,
He's so scared of
this-
Trump, he
button
doesn't
up this
look at
second.
him
I'm gonna give you
one
a minute
single
to
bit.
answer, sir. You have repeatedly
I
criticized.
have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have
His statement.
repeatedly.
Wait,
You have
just one
repeated. No,
second.
That's
you've been
funny.
talking
He
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would
no,
love to
you know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it.
You know,
Sir?
we're going to switch seats.
We would
could
very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd
I'm
send
no,
in
I'm-
the National Guard. It would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
But they
good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn
Matthew,
white
can you, like, fix
supremacists
your
and
headset?
militia
It's-
groups
the
and
audio's
to
echoing
say
off your
that
microphone.
they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number
Just,
of
like,
these
turn it
cities,
down
as
or
we
something
saw
a little
in
bit.
Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do that,
specifically
but
Do it.
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
what are you-
If
what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then
Is
do
it
it,
better?
sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to
supremacists.
condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is
the
a
threat
left-wing
of
Go ahead,
problem.
white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
Not
kidding.
militia. That's what
Oh, really?
his
It's an idea.
FBI,
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna,
you know what?
No,
He's
no,
wrong.
we're done, sir. We're
Everybody-
moving on to the next.
everybody
We're
gives
moving.
you
When a bat
advice
hits
in
you
your
over the head, that's not
administration.
an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is bad.
administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no
I
idea.
feel like the guy at the desk is
Antifa
favoring
is a
Joe Biden.
dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
He
we're
is
now
showing
moving on to the Trump
favoritism.
and
You gotta be
Biden
careful
record.
with
Just
them.
by
They'll
the way he
overthrow you.
When a
speaks to
president,
Trump.
I'm
And he's
being
from
very
Fox
careful.
News.
When the president seeks a second term,
He's from
Yeah,
Fox
he is
News,
generally
which is a
on referendum
right-wing
on his record.
organization.
But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, "Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And in this case, sir, you are the alternative.
I feel like
Looking-
both
Yeah,
sides
because
are
Trump's the
Both of
fucking
your
almighty
records
and
on what I
Biden's the
speak of
fucking
you.
retard.
Why
That's
should
why.
voters elect you president
The
over your
Democrats'
opponent in this
like
segment?
motto
President
right
Trump,
now
you go
is
first,
settle
2
for
minutes.
Biden.
Because there has never been
Settle
an
for
administration or
Biden.
president
No.
Yeah, I
who
swear
has
to God,
done
I
more
swear,
than I've
dude.
done
It's literally
in a
settle
period of
for
3.5
Biden.
years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what
Because
happened
Biden's not
today
gonna be
with
president
Hillary
for long,
Clinton,
they're
where it
just
was
gonna
a whole
fucking
big con job.
kick him out
But
and then put
despite
a new
going through
person in
all
there.
of these things where I had to fight both
Biden's
flanks
just like
and
this
behind me
weird
and
lizard
above.
face for
There has
the
never
Democratic
been an
Party.
administration that's done what I've done.
You
The greatest
fucking
before
lizard.
COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers.
God.
Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying it's time maybe, and then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. He was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president, you can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges, it's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided.
It's literally because we literally are in a pandemic. I don't know what he's getting at.
We inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did.
We're weaker. We're sicker. No fucking shit.
He caused the recession.
He's talking about how bad of a job President Trump is doing during a pandemic, and he's like, "Oh, we inherited after a recession." He's in the middle of this, and they got post-recession, not mid-recession.
No.
Post-recession. There's a big difference there. It's a lot easier to recover
Mr. President,
post than it is
campaign
mid.
agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can you add
No,
back
I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yes,
Okay.
you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before.
Don't look at me like that. I don't want you to touch me, please. Fuck you, you weird fuck. What is wrong with your eye? Stop. Don't stop. Look away.
It's on his watch. And with regard to
he's so creepy.
The nation can't stay divided. We can't be this.
Because he's old.
And speaking of my son, the way
he's so
you talk
creepy.
about the
Look
military,
at him. Just
the way you
look
talk
at his
about them
teeth.
being
Look at his
losers and being and just being suckers.
Oh my God!
He has like a
was
weird
in Iraq.
slouch.
He spent a year there.
oh, now he's looking at him.
He got the Bronze Star.
It's the first time
He
he's
got
looked at
the
Trump this
Service
entire
Medal.
time.
He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah, you
Hunter
know
got
Bo.
thrown. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
For
wasn't dishonorably
cocaine
discharged.
use. And he didn't have a
Oh!
job until you became vice president. And once you
None
became
of that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son,
fortune.
my son,
And he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it.
He
He's
keeps
worked on
trying
it.
to
And
make
I'm
the
proud of
people
him.
feel like
Why was
he's
he given tens of
for the
millions?
people
He
when he's
wasn't
most
given tens of
100%
millions.
not.
Totally
That's why he's
irrelevant.
staring at the
Totally
camera.
irrelevant.
That's why he keeps pointing at the camera. That's why he keeps trying to say you.
We've
You
already been
matched
through
her.
this. I think the American
You
people would rather
this,
hear
you
about
that.
more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to
deserve
make
that
a
extra
judgment
cheeseburger.
call here.
It's $3.5 million
Okay, great.
from the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow.
Let's talk
That is
about
not
think
true.
it's a
Gentlemen,
That
terrible thing.
report is totally
Why did he get
discredited.
it?
I
Mitt
think,
Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money, that report. It was written for political reasons.
you know, I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President,
should
you
go in
said, I
President
don't
Trump's
think
direction.
the science,
President
no,
Trump's favor.
over your 4 years,
He
you
said
have
before
pulled the
that
U.S.
they
out
should
of
have
the
been doing
Paris
controlled
Climate
burn.
Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about
Do you
the
remember
science
when,
of climate change?
like the
and
sky was
what
like
will
really
you do
gray
in the next
and,
4 years
it was
to
because
confront
of
it?
all the smoke and shit from the fires?
Crystal clean water and air.
guys
I
remember
want
that?
Beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at
no?
our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses
He said
aren't put out of
phenomenally.
commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
Do you
exciting
believe
for a lot of people.
that human
You mean Team
pollution,
Trees?
greenhouse gas
Team
emissions
trees.
contributes to the global warming of the
I think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor
Who's he
about it. I'm getting
referring
along
to?
very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But, sir,
That's burning down because of a lack of
But,
management.
sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But
$3,500.
in the case of California, they've simply
No,
ignored
but you would
your-
take a lot
your
of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And, and I'm okay with electric cars, too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down.
If he's wrong, I would like to know why he's wrong.
To
Yeah,
cheaper
that's what
than
I
Not
was
just tell me he's
as
wrong and then
coal
not say
and
why.
gas and oil. Nobody's going to build.
That's the
another,
main problem with
coal-fired
this debate
plant in
is that they're
America.
both
No one's gonna build
not
another
just
oil-fired
Biden.
plant
Both
in
of them are going,
They're
oh,
gonna
you're
move
wrong,
to
you're wrong, you're
renewable
wrong,
energy,
and then
number
Trump
one.
has
Number
done
two,
has
we're
explained
gonna make
more.
sure that we are able
But
to
they're
get
both
the
doing it.
federal
And it's
fleet
kind of
turned
annoying
into a
because they're
fleet
like, oh,
that's
you're wrong.
run
Oh, no, you're
on
wrong. You're
their
wrong.
electric
And then they don't
vehicles.
explain
We're
why.
gonna
Yeah,
make sure that we
I'm
can
like,
do
come
that
on.
It would be
with
really nice if they used
500,000
constructive
charging
criticism
stations and all of the highways that we're
and
going to be
just,
building in the
you know,
future.
explain, hey,
We're going to build
why
an
you such a
economy that, in
faggot when you're
fact,
such a baby
is
boy?
going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings hurricanes and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs.
How is weatherizing a building going to
to
affect
net
the
zero
release
in terms of
of
energy
gases
production
to the
by
atmosphere?
2035? Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good-paying jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that, in fact, is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is
That's not our
absorbed in that
problem.
rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion and say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is a guy who says that, well, the fact that it's all true. And here's the deal.
He's talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they want to rip down buildings
Go for a minute, and then you can go.
and rebuild the building.
No,
it's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
most
that
ridiculous.
is not
Where
the
airplanes are out of
minute,
business,
that's it.
where two-car systems are out, where they
Not
want to
true.
take out the cows too.
Not
That's
true.
not true either, right?
Not
this is
true.
this is a $100 trillion.
Look,
that's more money than our
is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going.
the case.
All right, let me
destroy our
because I
country.
actually wait a minute, sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes: the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying jobs.
Let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100 billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good-paying jobs, and these tax incentives for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that.
That's
at all.
he did say.
You made it up.
And here's the deal.
You make up a
we
lot of
we are going to be in a position where we can create hard, good jobs by making sure the environment is clean and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. We, in fact, but the rest of the world, we've got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion,
That is
not $20
my
billion.
plan.
That's
the Green
well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is
building.
not my plan.
You want to rebuild every.
If he knew anything about,
wait.
if he knew
Gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about,
statement about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
and he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
He said
Mr.
stupid
Please,
bastards. He
not
said
sir,
it.
stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that.
Play
to the
it.
Stop.
military.
Play it.
Go ahead, Mr.
You're on
Vice
tape.
President. answered his final question?
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings.
I'm having a little trouble myself. But and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental changes will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're going to
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
You don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I support
that means you just lost the radical left.
I support the Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
What is the Biden
Final
plan?
segment.
Please tell me. What is the
Election
Biden
integrity.
plan?
As we meet
Biden, come
tonight,
on, what's your plan? Are
millions
you
of
planning to pull out your
Americans
ass
are
hairs, man?
receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early.
I come back.
How
I get back to
should we
that.
be that this will be a fair election, and what are you prepared
yes.
to do over the next 5+ weeks, because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com, decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own
he's reading
Homeland
off a
Security
script.
Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is
Yeah,
no
let's go to
evidence at all
the
that mail-in ballots
vote.com.
are a source of
Vote.com,
being
yeah.
manipulated and cheating. They said that.
.com, by the way, .com. That was made by the
because
Democrats.
of
That is going to be
voting
fucked
by
with.
mail-in ballots,
Let's
like
go
he
there.
does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and
Like
sends his ballot to
.gov or
Florida.
.org,
Number one. Number two,
all that normal
we're going to make
shit.
sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are
I
counted.
won't Rona.
And this
I
is
don't
all
want a
about
social
trying
distance.
to
Fuck
dissuade
you.
people from voting because he's
I
trying
want to
to
die sooner.
to scare people into
Exactly.
thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and
Tired
vote.
of living on this
You will
planet.
determine the outcome of this
Full of
election.
fucking
vote,
mongoloids.
vote. If you're able to vote,
He's telling
early in
everybody
your
to
state,
vote.
early. If you're
But he's just gonna
vote in
lose.
person, vote whatever way is the best way for you.
Stop telling people to
Because
vote. It's just gonna make you
he
lose,
cannot
buddy.
stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not,
I
when the
think we
votes
know
are
who's
counted
gonna
and they're
win.
all counted,
He's not
that
trying to
will be
stop them. He's
accepted.
trying
If
to
I
stop
win, that will be
fraudulent
accepted. If I
voting
lose, that'll be accepted.
by
But by
mail-in.
the way, if in fact he
Exactly.
says
That's
he's
what
not
he's trying
sure
to
what he's going
stop.
to accept, well, let me
He's
tell
trying
you
to
something.
stop
It doesn't
you guys
matter,
from fucking with the
because if we
fucking
get the
election.
votes,
Trying-
it's going to be
trying
all
to get the
over.
Russians
He's gonna
to stop
go.
fucking
He
with the
can't stay in power.
elections.
It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what
No,
this
we
country's
don't.
going to look like the next 4 years.
We don't
Is it
at
going
all.
to change? You get 4 more
Hardly.
years of these lies.
One
Our
vote's
vote
not gonna
doesn't
be
do
like the
shit.
major
President,
difference.
2 minutes.
So
Our vote does absolutely
when
nothing.
I
That's
listened
why,
to Joe talking
because
about a
Hillary had
transition,
the popular
there's
vote.
been no transition
and she
from when
lost.
I won that election.
We
And
don't
if you look
have
because the
shit.
Electoral
Hillary
College-
Clinton, if
no,
you look at
the
all
thing
of
is, though, is
different
the
people,
Electoral College
there
makes
was no
it fair.
transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign.
Electoral College
They started
is
from the
in
day I
place
won
to
and even
make it
before I
fair.
won. From the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady, they were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act
Jesus,
against
he's an
General
aggressive
Flynn.
guy.
You better take a look at that because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster.
He's really good at
A
doing that shit.
solicited ballot.
Trump is just good at
solicited
fucking
is okay.
speaking.
You're soliciting.
He's
You're
just good
asking.
with,
They send
you know,
it back.
fucking
You
with
send it back.
people.
I did that.
He got
If
Joe
you have an
Biden going off the
unsolicited, they're
fucking
sending
start. Like, he
millions
was
of
already
ballots
getting
all over
pissed
the country.
off.
There's
It was-
fraud.
Yeah.
They
It
found
was
them
funny.
in creeks. They found some with the name Trump. Just happened to have the name Trump. Just
Like,
the
shut
other
up,
day in
I'm
a
talking,
waste
the
paper
man's
basket.
talking.
They're being
Biden's
sent all
getting
over the
fucking
place.
redder by the
They
minute.
sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that,
sir,
all run by
2
Democrats.
minutes is 2 minutes.
All run by Democrats. It's
President Trump,
it's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what
they
are you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it?
left
If there
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now,
do
what
is
are
you
gonna
go
do?
and vote. You do a solicited ballot,
No,
and that's
I'm not-
okay,
I know your
or you go and
complaint. I'm
vote.
asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go and vote. You go and
No,
vote,
but
like
what I'm
they
saying is, what are you gonna do
used
about
to
the
in
fact
the
that
old.
millions of people?
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well.
There is
Okay.
no
This
evidence
is
of that.
not going
Vice
to
President
end
Biden-
well.
There's pictures in
States had
Wisconsin.
mail-in
At the
ballots
mailman
for the last
dumped
decade or more,
ballots.
5, including
And
2
That'd be
Republicans.
super
Along that
illegal.
road.
And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you.
Jesus Christ.
It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows
You're
what the
wrong.
outcome
You're
is.
wrong.
No, I want to continue with you on this,
love
Vice
counting the
President
vote.
Biden.
Chris,
because
he's so wrong when he makes
in
a
fact,
statement
no,
like that.
excuse me, Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court, with a Justice Barrett, will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify.
I swear, if you said dotting the correct T, I would have been fucking dead.
All right. No.
When you
I
have
have a final,
80 million ballots,
gentlemen, I have a final
sending
question.
and swamping the system.
Make sure you
know
dot
it
your
can't be done.
T's and
You know
cross
it
your
can't.
I's.
Already
All right,
there's been
so now-
fraud,
Mail
there's
service
Don't
delivers
control
Gentlemen,
it.
85
final
million
question
mail
is,
a day.
in
80
8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking.
It's
in
a-
8
it's a
states,
disgrace.
election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks.
Could be months.
Until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
does that
from
mean,
a common sense,
does that mean you're going to tell your people to take to the
it means you have a fraudulent election.
This motherfucker has problems with him interrupting, but the motherfucker keeps interrupting. Shut up!
Number one.
Shut your goofy ass up, I swear to God.
Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
you think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. They count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since at the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process.
I don't think they had mail-in voting.
No
in
one
the
has
Civil War.
established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots.
Because you know how long it takes for that horse to get across the country?
It's already been established. Look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I asked you had an opportunity to respond.
Go
ahead.
They have no idea what
He's
happened.
about to cry. Look at him. He's gonna fucking cry.
Here's the
He's
deal.
gonna cry.
The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why?
Those are going to be like crocodile
Because
tears.
once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted,
he's gonna fucking
all the votes are counted,
fall down and
that'll
just
be the end
croak
of it.
over.
That'll be the end of it.
He's gonna fucking die, dude.
In fact, fine. If it's not me,
This
I'll support
motherfucker's
the
not
outcome.
he's
gonna
from the
live very
I'll
long.
be a president not just for the
He's from the
Democrats.
fucking
I'll be
Stone
president
Age.
for
he doesn't know what he's
Democrats
talking
and
about.
Republicans. And this guy,
I want to
if
see
in
an
fact,
honest
okay.
ballot
No, it's
count.
like
Will you say that's the end of it? This is the
After
end of this
the Stone
debate.
Age.
Ballot count.
We're
And
going to
I think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
just have
To
the
be
Neanderthal
continued
forehead.
as in more debates as we go on. President Trump,
Oh my God.
Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch.
Mike
Until then,
Pence.
thank you and good night.
I just wanted to hear you're wrong. You're wrong.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
You fight.
You're wrong.
Trump, walk over there and just fucking deck him.
Grabs him by the hair and pulls him to the back of the stage to give him a lecture. Oh yeah. Wait, are they?
Hi.
I'm Joe Biden's husband.
I couldn't get it out. I just started laughing. I couldn't get it out. Hi. I'm Joe Biden's husband.
Oh, Lord.
Let's go! Let's go! Oh man.
God damn, it's so awkwardly quiet in the. God damn.
Fuck the lizard people. No.
Yeah, look like fucking
Pussies! Oh, that's funny.
soy milk.
That is the dumbest debate I think that has ever happened.
Where Biden was on the verge of tears and Trump was just going off on him.
Yeah, and then the fucking dude was just like, "You've had your 2 minutes. You've had your 2 minutes."
It's really funny. It's like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong.
Oh, there's the end of it.
Your plan is $100
season 6.
trillion
Alrighty, boys. Well, I gotta go watch a movie with